But Leonard Kyle went to Mass General, and they were actually in the process of getting funding to create what they called a violence unit in the hospital where they would do these treatments more regularly. So the interesting part about it is whether Kyle consented or not to the permanent implant. And basically,
So how would he do it if if he didn't consent?
So first he did agree. In order to save his marriage, he said, I'll have the temporary implant, which was they put in this device, they have the wires running out, and they stimulate different parts of it, and they would say, when we stimulate this node, Kyle would say something like, now I feel bliss. And then they stimulate another node, and he would say, oh, I feel like I'm floating. And then he would feel terrible and feel very, nervous, or, he'd have different reactions to the stimulation. There was something like 14 points. And this is extensively documented in published papers and in their book, Violence in the Brain. So Kyle, when they found the point that gave him bliss, they gave him the consent form. And he signed it while he was in an altered state. He agreed to continue the operation and to have a permanent implant in his brain. So that's, they ended up, not an implant, but they seared away that portion of they seared part of the amygdala to make a permanent change and supposedly make him less violent. But in the end, it just disabled him cognitively, and he began to have delusions that he was Christ, that he was being pursued by doctors from MIT and Harvard and Stanford. Some of that, that was where his doctors were from. But he started to say that he was in a science fiction novel. He might be in a novel